Minister, time and again I have stood in this chamber and indeed in the Dáil chamber across the water and raised the difficulties that are facing the aviation sector. Many sectors were closed by the government's public health restrictions out of necessity, but those sectors had a plan for their reopening. Aviation was closed, a task force was established, and the recommendations of that task force have been completely set aside by the government without any explanation. There was never a plan. The plan was to close and there was never a plan for reopening. The range of issues that I've raised have been numerous and diverse, from cabin crew to ground staff, pilots to maintenance staff in our airports, to retail businesses in our terminals, to mechanics, to engineers, to businesses such as LDS Limited, Luggage Delivery Services International, who are locked out of support, to the airlines themselves. The only constant in the issues that I have raised is the failure of the government to deal with them and resolve them in the interest of those workers concerned. Workers in the sector are literally devastated. They're on reduced hours, reduced pay. Some are in receipt of the pandemic unemployment payment, others the employment wage subsidy scheme, while many have been accessing job seekers benefit and short-term work supports. Others have suffered the loss of their job completely. Now, many workers across the sector have received the news that they've lost their entitlements to social protection supports because they've exceeded the days that they can claim for. And Minister, I am working with dozens of people through my offices in Swords and Balbriggan and throughout Fingal who are impacted by this. I've raised it, my colleague Claire Curran has raised it, and we simply cannot get any movement. The rules around requalification were not drawn up with a pandemic in mind. They don't work for these workers in this instance. The supports need to be extended beyond the current 6 and 9 months, and the rules around requalification have to be suspended. Furthermore, just a few weeks ago we heard the devastating announcement by Aer Lingus regarding base closures, along with the collapse of Stobart Air. Stobart has ceased trading with a loss of 480 jobs, and a liquidator has been appointed. There are more than 140,000 jobs depending on aviation and ensuring that the island remains connected. At the heart of this devastation is a minister and a government that has a complete hands-off approach to the aviation sector. Without our connectivity minister, we're lost. A core message that the government needs to hear is that they must protect our connectivity and they must protect the aviation jobs. And I'm blue in the face saying this. From the outset of the pandemic, workers and unions in the sector have called for two things, namely supports and a plan. The supports for workers, airlines and airports are a fraction of what is needed based on international comparisons. I sat in the chamber some weeks back and countries in Europe, in the chamber some weeks back, countries in Europe which are connected by rail and road have invested far more in their aviation sector than we have, even though we are an island on the edge of the Atlantic, absolutely dependent upon this. We really need to catch up, Minister. And in the time remaining, I want to mention the Stobart workers. These workers now, a liquidator has been appointed. Some of them are in a trade union. Some of them are in a staff association. They are absolutely lost. Minister, can I ask that you will appoint a person in your department to directly liaise with these workers? And can I ask you, Minister, and you might cover this in your closing remarks, do you believe that there will be a transfer of undertakings for some of these workers or all of these workers, or how many of these workers might be involved in a TUPE arrangement? That's really important for them to know that now. And Minister, can I ask if a link person, if you'll talk to your colleague in the DSP, the Minister for Social Protection, and ask her if a link person can be provided to liaise with these people, because they are all at sea now. They don't know what is going to happen.
Thank you, Deputy.